Iris Burton, welcome to the show. And for
Thank
anybody who
you.
doesn't know, you have a YouTube channel that is, I'm just going to say it, it's probably the nicest YouTube channel that I have seen for this
Oh,
industry.
thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I'm looking at your videos, and you have a ton of views, uh, but more importantly, the content is just right on. You had one video that I thought was hilarious, and it was something about don't move. It was just a complete opposite. Do you know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about?
Yeah. Well,
Which one is that?
people, they avoid moving to Colorado Springs unless you can handle these 10 facts or whatever it was. I think people, because I'll do like a video of reasons you'll love Colorado Springs, and people don't want to watch that because they want to move away from pain. They are not interested in, the pleasure side of it. They want the tea, they want the truth. And so that's what I try to provide because I'm like that. I'm a realist and I just want to know, like, I want to know what I'm getting myself into. So I try to let them know. But sometimes people get upset and they're just like,
Well,
you'll see in
everybody,
the comments.
if you Google any city, whether it's Colorado Springs or Denver, you'll see videos that are pretty much the same tone. These are 5 reasons you'll love here, or these are the main reasons why you'll love here. But then when you see somebody say, this place sucks, like don't
Right?
go here, I click on that. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
that's call it clickbait. But I like in that video you ended it perfectly though. You said something about unless you're okay with these factors,
Yeah.
which instantly gave me it gave you credibility in my eyes because it made me feel like, okay, cool. So she's playing both sides. She's not just like a negative Debbie Downer. She's got these are the things, this is the truth.
Hmm.
That's the vibe I got from that video. But all your videos are like that. I mean, they're first of all, do you have a background in communication and video production or any of that thing? Or tell me about your background in that whole thing, because you're leveled up pretty high on that level.
Honestly, I try to do everything with excellence. My first videos were not that good. They were terrible. They were in my kitchen. I was reading off of a teleprompter, so it wasn't that good. Um, Sometimes I still use a teleprompter just when it gets into the
Right.
numbers and the stats and stuff. But um, I mean, I was on the worship team at my church for years. I did the PowerPoint, but as far as like video editing, I just really always liked marketing and websites and design and things like that. So it was just interesting to me. So I just tried it and I liked it.
Well, I think it's fantastic. Would you say you get most of your business from, you've been in the business for a while, so I imagine you probably have a pretty strong database of repeat clients in your area, but do you get a lot of, I want to say, walk-in traffic or direct leads from your
Mhm.
YouTube business?
Yeah, I would say most of my business is from YouTube, and then I do get a lot of referrals and obviously social media and things like that. Um, but yeah, actually, I haven't been in sales, a few years. I started in 2014 as like admin at a Remax office. So that's how I got into real estate. It was supposed to be a part-time job. And I really liked the people that I was working with. And so it just grew into that. But yeah, most of them, they find me, they book my, like they get a free consultation. And then if they want to work with me, we just sign the contracts and go.
So are you a media person who does real estate, or are you a real estate person who's gotten really good at media?
That's a good question. I think I'm more of a real estate person that has gotten into media because I know how important it is. I know people are searching this stuff up online. And I first actually I have a friend that's on YouTube. His name is Mark, and he helped me get into YouTube, and then so now I like help him with his videos. It's kind of funny, but he's the one that kind of got me started on it. He's like, yeah, I get a lot of really cool clients that I vibe with because they're watching me and they'd rather work with me because they like my personality. So it's not like you're buying a Zillow lead and then you get there and it's all awkward. We hit it off
Right,
like right away, and it's more fun
right,
because it's like we already know each other. It's kind of unique in that way.
right. The Colorado Springs market, I want to talk about that, but again, I just had to get it off. I wanted to talk about your media because that's how we discovered you. Actually, is the same way
Oh,
everybody does. Is we found your
yeah.
videos and we thought, man, this person's in the state of Colorado. This has got to be the greatest quality collection. And then I looked at your website and your social media, and everything's put together. So, but
Thank you.
100,000 people have moved to Colorado Springs in the last decade, according to the stats I read this morning. How has that? How's the market? I guess I should say, in terms of, I know we're dealing with a lot of remote workers, but I also know Colorado Springs is growing. What can you say about the market right now, 2025?
So the market is interesting because it almost feels like it's like this push and pull. And I'm diving into stats now for my next video actually to figure out like what's going on, because the prices are still going up. Average home price is still, I want to say, 2 to 3% higher than last year. So, and it's because there's just a lack of inventory. I think I looked yesterday and there was probably 21, actually, no. Yeah, so there was about 2,800 homes for sale, but that MLS that we have includes other cities, like Rama. Like no one's searching to move to Rama. But I think 1,600 were in Colorado Springs proper, and I want to say that was single family homes. So there's not that many. And then, so you can have a multiple offer situation on a house that looks really good. If the seller really beefs it up, updates it. We have one that we're working on right now. It's not old, but people want move-in ready. So we're kind of just putting in new appliances and just tweaking a couple of things. We're going to put it back on the market. So you'll have houses that are like really hot that everybody wants, and there's multiple offers. And then most of them are kind of like, they're like slim pickings, you know?
I hear that a lot right now. I hear, if it's, what was the word? One of the agents I spoke with called it a cupcake, which is basically a really nice listing and there's not a lot of inventory. If it's a cupcake, you're going to get offers, 10 offers. But if it's not, if it's a, what the hell are we doing here kind of a property, where you're looking at like, this is what's available, I feel like those ones are sitting. What are the average days on listings right now, or average days on market?
I always think of like the clearance rack, like there's like nothing left. And days on market, so we've got probably around 60 days for single family, 70 plus for condos and townhouses.
Okay, that's what I'm hearing kind of across the state.
Oh,
Certain
really?
pockets are hotter than others, but I feel like that's kind of like across the state.
Yeah, and a ton of price drops.
So price drop opportunities right now. Nice.
I think and I don't know if this is what you're hearing or seeing too, but buyers are afraid to make offers, like even if they feel like it's a lowball offer, or maybe, because there are some sellers that do get offended if you do a lowball offer, but some really do want to, they just want to see how much they can get. So they're going to list it high, even though that's the worst thing you could do.
Yeah.
It's just a consumer's mindset. But I think if people just had the conversation, like, I really like this house, but I really don't feel like, I don't want to pay $3,000 a month for a dump.
What? And I'm just going to ask, I mean, what do interest rates play in this? Because I mean, I'm a lender, as you know, and with rates where they are and home prices going up, it's kind of a double whammy, right? Like I remember when rates were really low, home prices kind of went up because of competition. But now we've got this thing where home prices are going up because of low inventory. But then you throw on top of that kind of elevated interest rates. It's really kind of a rough spot to be in, right? You kind of feeling that as well?
Yeah, and I think that's why our home price average keeps going up, because the only people that are buying are the people that are kind of the upper middle class, kind of they're making multiple six figures as an income per month or per year. And I think that's what's making, because I look at the numbers, I'm like, gosh, we've had like 100 price drops. How is it that our average home price is still going up? Well, because the middle class is basically priced out. I just sold a house and I had to negotiate the heck out of that one. And it was, we finally got it down to, I want to say $335. And even that was like a $2,700 a month payment, no HOA, low taxes. And it wasn't like the greatest house. It was only like 1,500 square feet. It was a first time home buyer, but that's something that people have to think about, is like leveraging this property for later. In 10 years, we're going to use this property to kind of switch up. And people don't want to do that. They just want move-in ready. But it's like, you're missing out on a ton of equity and opportunity.
Yeah, that's a good point. It reminds me of, do you do mostly listings or buyers and listings?
Buyers,
Mostly buyers.
buyers. Hmm.
This is going to be a good question for you. What's working right now for those situations where it's hard to get the house, the debt ratio is high for the buyer, the payment's going to be high, but we really want it. Are you guys utilizing any like temporary buy downs? Is that pretty big in your area? And are your sellers willing to just give up a little bit to make it happen for the person you were just talking about who's looking at a $2,700 payment for a $1,500, So is there flexibility from sellers right now in your area for things like that?
If it's been on the market for a while, then there's some opportunity there. But when I've worked with buyers and they're like, this house just came on the market and they want to like offer less, I always tell them to just wait, because you're going to waste your time, the seller's time, everybody's time. Wait at least, if it's on the market for like 30 days or more, then I'm like, okay, let's see how we can work with this one. Try and get concessions, try and get the seller to buy down the rate. And maybe you can tell me like what would be like to get it down at least 1%. How
Right.
much are we having to pay for? Can you do permanent buy down?
Yeah, you can do so. The temporary rate buy downs, if you haven't done many, they were kind of brought into the picture. It's a relatively newer product, and they kind of came into the picture to combat the sudden increase in interest rates.
Yeah.
Remember when we were 2.5%, 3%? It seems like it was 4 years ago. Maybe I'm right there, but suddenly we're in the sixes and the sevens, and I think we even touched the eights for a minute with interest
We
rates.
did.
Well, temporary rate buy downs are, just as a refresher, are just a way for you to basically buy 2 years of a lower rate. So let's say your rate was going to be 7%. If you did a 2-1, 2 the first year, 1 the second year, 2-1 temporary buy down, first year you're 5%. For the whole year, your rate is equivalent. Your rate is 5%. Second year, it's 6%. And then it caps at 7% for the rest of the term. Now, here's the thing about it. The way it works best that we found is if you can get the seller to pay those for you.
Yeah.
So that money goes into a little account. We'll call it like a slush fund account, essentially. And then every month, a part of that money comes out to reduce your payment each month for however long. Like for that year, brings the payment down 2%. So we can lower somebody's payment $700, $800 a month for a full year. And then the second year, it reduces it maybe only $400 a month. The thing about those, and I'm getting somewhere, I promise. The thing about these are, if you refinance early, that money comes back to you. It's still your money. So the seller gives it at the contract, still your money. Okay, and why that's different than the traditional, the buy down that you're used to from your early years in real estate. A traditional buy down is you're buying it down for the full term.
Yeah.
So if rates are 7% and I'm going to buy down the rate permanently down to, let's say, 6.25%, and it's costing me 15 grand. Well, that's great. It keeps me at that rate for 30 years. But the reality is, what if rates just organically come down to something in the fives? You're going to refinance. Well, you spent $15,000 or $10,000 or whatever for that 30-year buy down. You're not going to use it all. So the temporary buy down is kind of your way to hedge the market and say, look, ease into my payment. Give me 2 good years, and then I'll just refinance. So you're kind of playing the market a little bit there, but
Yeah.
you're not investing in the 30-year. You're investing in 2 years.
Right. I
So-
think people are just scared of that third year still, because they're like, holy cow,
Yep.
my payment's going to be $3,500 now. You know,
Right.
you start at 20, whatever the lower end of it, but they still kind of panic at that third year, because what if they don't go down? And this
And I
is
think-
reality.
And a good lender should say, hey, look, worst case scenario, this is where we're going to end up. Are you okay with that? And if they say, absolutely not, that's way more than I want to pay. That first year looks good, but
Yeah.
third year, dude, no way, I can't do that. Then you got to pump the brakes and say, this isn't a good move for you right now.
Yeah.
Because that could happen. Now, the reality is, if you study the market, the bond market and the 10-year treasury, and you have a pretty good eye on rates, even though the whole world has been a mess the last 2 years. The Fed's been wrong 60% of the time. I mean, everybody's
Right.
been wrong. The economists that we follow personally at True Rate, that these Yale scholars and these Harvard and these Wharton Business School, all these people who have all these good numbers and stats, they've all been wrong. There's no accountability for it. But even if you follow them, you'll have a little more confidence in where we are right now. You'll know that they are going to come down. They already are coming down. We're on a 4-week run right now. We're the lowest we've been in 4 months. Sorry. We're the lowest right now that we've been in 4 months in interest rates.
Nice.
So are they still good? Are they better than they were? Yes, but they're not where they could be or where they're going to be. So if you study the market, you know we're trending in the right direction. The problem, though, Iris, is headlines. Headlines in the news are so deceiving. And I know you know this because you deal with a lot of buyers. I'm sure the first question is, well, how are rates? What are you seeing? I saw on MSNBC this morning that housing's this or rates are this, and it confuses everybody. The problem is, and I'll get off my soapbox here, I swear, the problem is those headlines sell. And there's no accountability to those headlines. So if I'm writing a newspaper article or I'm publishing, if I'm going on Fox News in an hour and I'm going to be talking about the market, I have to say something that's going to create a splash.
Oh, yeah.
I have to say, oh, God, I talked to Iris. She's one of the big hitters in Colorado Springs. She said her buyer, and I have to sell that. And that's what they're doing. They're selling fear because it's media. And so that's my big answer there, the big circle for temporary rate buy downs in the market and where we are today.
Yeah. Yeah. And it really just depends on who you watch too. I do believe most people are seeing with the headlines and things like that. But there's a lot of stuff going on and it just projects fear. We've had a pretty slow start. And I think the month of February, we had like 92 foreclosure starts, which is like, oh my God, I can't believe, like, it has spiked, right? From what, like 58 or something. But it's still historically lower than it's ever been. So,
right.
But people are starting to panic and they see those numbers and they get the clickbait and now it's the truth across the board. But it's, you just have to really look at the numbers. The data doesn't lie and we still have it. But again, like with the people that are looking at headlines with the auto loan defaults, but a lot of people shouldn't have been buying cars in the first place. We're overpaying on cars, overpaying on houses. And then, we had a little bit of a spike in 2022 with foreclosures, but then it came down again. So, it's tough. It's tough to know for sure. But if you're in a good position, you have savings, you're good with your money, you're not spending money ridiculously on silly things, and you're responsible, I think it's okay to move forward. You still have to live your life.
I hear you. And you got me thinking again about buyers because I know that's what you focus on. And I know you're a mindset person too. I've seen a little bit of your stuff. You're kind of a positive mindset type of a person.
I try to be.
Yeah, no, I picked that up from some of your videos. When you get a new buyer and this first-time home buyer, let's just go there. In this swimming pool of challenges and sharks and inflation and rates and inventory, you got to be really, really dialed in. And I guess I want to say positive, and I don't mean false BS positive, but I mean you have to really be looking for opportunities for your clients. Now, there are first-time home buyer programs. The seller can help out, but I think you have to keep your buyer focused on the reality of how does this different from what you're doing right now? You're paying rent. Let's talk about the difference here. Your payment becomes this. Let's go over that. Take me through your opinion or your game plan, I should say, when you get because I know you work with a ton of buyers. First-time home buyer, break it down for me. Where do you start with them to prepare them for what's ahead of them?
What's funny about YouTube buyers is that they're very well researched. That's how they found me. So they're already months into Googling, is now a good time to buy? How are interest rates and things like that? So they pretty much know and they're ready to go. So more of my.
By the way, you just gave me a great keyword for a video to make, but keep going.
Yeah, it's now a good time to buy.
Yes.
So like with my, sphere of influence, people that I know that I'm working with, I kind of just start with what can you afford? What is your, like, this is a no-go zone? And then I remind them, like, hey, remember you said, because then they start, like, they don't like the houses that they're seeing in their price point. Then they start looking in a higher price point, and I'm just like, remember you said that you didn't want, because I don't want them to be like years later regretting their house. Like, you knew what you started, where you were at, what you wanted to be at when you first started. So we're going to try and stay around that. My goal is to get you what you need. So if it's more important for you to get 15 grand off the purchase price, which I, sometimes for Chafa, um, you can only get so much.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to get creative. So I'm like, okay, we're going to cut a check to, this contractor or whatever. So we don't want to leave any money on the table, but it's like, what's most important to you? For a lot of people, it's monthly payment, but for some people, it's price. If they're putting a lot of cash down, it's more important for them to. So it just depends on the person. We have that conversation, and I just kind of try and prepare them. Like, the market's not great right now. Sellers don't want to come down on price. They'd rather pull their home off the market than give you a deal. I think last year we had like 6,000 expired listings, which is like a record high. I don't know if it's a record high. I'm just thinking in my head, like, there's not a lot of data behind there that I could look up, but yeah, they're just going to take their house off the market. And so you have to be realistic of, if you walk into a house and you like it, but you can't stand the paint or the carpet, please, like, let's negotiate a carpet allowance. Let's get them to pay. I like to do the carpet allowance because I'd rather be there to pick out the carpet, to have the seller pick out carpet and paint. Like, I'd rather not do that. But it's just things like that. Just seeing what's important, how we can get around it and get you into the house, a good house, not one that needs work. We're looking at, water heaters, furnaces, the ages of those appliances and things like that. Just to make sure that they can kind of foresee how much they might be spending within the next 5 years and saving up for that as well.
Lesson learned here to sellers. You could have a really nice foundation, a really nice house with really good bones, and a really just a perfect neighborhood and a home that's just waiting to swell with value. But if the carpet smells like cat pee, and if you have a pink curtain in one of the rooms that doesn't match anything, like, those little things can make a person go, oh, no way, this house is junk.
Yeah.
And then,
unfortunately,
or you could spend $300 and clean the carpet and do a couple. And obviously this is probably a one-off, but I think the point is that it's important for us to let buyers know that this is an investment. And there's a cost to an investment, but there's also a gain to an investment. Right. Let's go back and look at the home value gains in this area on a normal home in this area. Forget about that. We can get rid of that wall color, this and that, or we can even move things around. But when I meet a buyer who's looking to get pre-qualified, I love having those conversations about of looking at it as, yeah, it's your home. It's going to be where your kids are going to eat dinner, and it's awesome. You're going to meet your neighbors. That's the beautiful thing. Yeah. But it's also an investment. So let's understand the numbers and look at where you're going to be. And you know what? If you do have another kid and you guys need another bedroom, this is what this home could be worth. We publish a HomeBot report. I don't know if you're on HomeBot at all or if you get those reports, but we follow the trends of the home values. We show you where you're going to be potentially in X number of years. And if you want to buy up or move up, this is how it looks. So it's important. That's the part I love with the buyers. Yeah. I love going over it as an investment, a business. Because, for a lot of first-time home buyers, not a lot, for some, they're going to make more money on that house than they are in their job over the course of a year.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I think a lot of people have, especially first-time home buyers, they have a rental mindset. Like, this has to be nice enough for me to move in, but you can do whatever you want with the property. I mean, within city guidelines or codes, but you can change it out however you want.
Absolutely. I know your online presence is solid. I want to take a few minutes because you've taken the time to come on the show here and you've given me your time. I want you to tell me why and how are you different than the other agents in your area? I want to say like competitors, but I imagine you're probably friends with a lot of them, but we compete, right? We compete.
Yeah.
How are you different? How are you better? And why should my next buyer in your area call you and not anybody else in that area?
Honestly, I think there's a lot of really great agents. I like to work with people that are going to feel comfortable with me because there's a huge trust issue in the real estate business. And if there's like constant like thinking in the back of your head, like, um, I don't trust this agent. I don't know if they're, looking at my best interests. There's a difference between like someone who is skilled in real estate where they know what they're talking about. They know the housing market stats. And then there's like the salesy type that make you feel good and that, they pretty much tickle your ears and tell you what you want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to find a balance between that. Like, I'm not going to be salesy in your face all the time. I want you to, have fun, have a good time. We're going to have fun looking for a house. But also know that it can be stressful and there's so many different moving factors. And I want to be open in communication. So I think a lot of people appreciate that with me is the honesty, and that I'm going to be straightforward. Like
one thing I pick up from you, not to cut you off here.
Yeah.
I have to say, because I've been forgetting stuff today. I really pick up you're very, very, very straightforward. And you're very,
Yeah.
very, very...
It can turn people off.
I like it because you're right. I don't like the salesy thing. And I really don't like when people think I'm salesy. And it's easy to think that because used car salesmen, mortgage people, realtors, I mean, you immediately can start to think, oh, here we go. Here comes the hard sell.
Right.
And
what do you want from me?
Yeah. And I actually hate that. I hate that they think that. But I understand that they think that because guess what? I feel that way when I go to a car dealership. I'm like, oh, here comes the big hitter, the pipeline leader. I'm going to get buried by the approach here, and it's not his fault. He's just doing his job, right? Just like we all are. But I don't like that stereotype of the professions. And I think it just goes with the territory. But to my point, you have a vibe of we may or may not be a good fit. Here's the facts. Here's how it works. I will fight for you. Let's go if you're ready.
Yeah.
That's what I get.
Because we can stand in our own way oftentimes. Like, I'm not going to push or pull with people, but I am very helpful. And you can, like on Google, all my reviews are there. Everybody loves how helpful I am. And I'm a problem solver. So, and for this instance where, we had a condo listed and this has happened to me before, like where someone had their house listed and then didn't get it sold. And then they come to me. And so what we did was like, we'll do staging, we'll do video marketing, and we'll do all these different things, but we also will help you fix up your house. So for this instance, we worked with the seller. We're going to help him update all of his appliances, help the house look a little bit better, and then relist it under us, and then we're going to get it sold. And so this is right now, unfortunately, this is what it takes to get it sold. People want, like I said, move-in ready. They don't want to have to repaint a pink wall, like paint the pink wall, and you'll get it sold. So, it's just things like that where we're kind of like seeing what needs to be done, how we can get there. If it's something where you just need an investor, like you're just going to have to take the hit and get an investor to do this for you, or reduce the price to where it needs to be, where some buyer's going to want to.
So everything you just said right now comes with experience. It really does. As you were talking, and I've been in the game 15 years, as you were talking, explaining what you're going to do for this person to save this deal, I'm like, that's experience. That's really what you're paying for. And that really should be your biggest factor in choosing a professional. I really think it's important because I don't care how much you like somebody or if it's related to your cousin or if it's your friend even. At the end of the day, there's so much value in experience because real estate school is what, 6 months, 3 months?
I think I did mine in 4.
4 months. So the real degree is in the number of deals you do and the experience. I work with agents who close 2 deals a year. That's it. And then I work with some who close 50, 60, 70 deals a year. Can you imagine the experience difference there? So that becomes important when you're trying to negotiate a purchase price or you're trying to solve a problem, like you said.
Or not lose your earnest money. I see a lot of newer agents that lose their buyer's earnest money. That's crazy.
Yeah. And you're kind of the wingman for balancing out that lender transaction as well. You put up with a lot of crap in that system too. So if you are working with a lender or you refer to a lender and that lender drops the ball, all of a sudden you got a double fire. Why did you refer
Mm-hmm.
me over there? Well,
Yeah.
truthfully, you quit your job. It kind of is not really the lender's fault, but maybe the lender should have told you don't quit your job. I don't know.
Right. There's a lot that can happen in communication that could
Communication.
prevent.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's my thing. Is like if the lender doesn't communicate it's hard for me. Like there's a lot of great lenders out there, but at the end of the day, my client needs to be happy and we have to get it done in a good payment, like a competitive payment. It's
The biggest
tough right now.
the biggest cliche I will add to that is, as lenders, and I'm a lender, I told you that already. The greatest thing I did get to do is make you happy when your buyer comes back to you and goes, dude, that's awesome. Like he broke down the numbers. We're actually like $2,000 less than we thought. This is awesome. Like you have so much on your mind as the realtor. You're thinking of so many things. You're thinking about that listing agent and what's going on in their head. You're thinking about the house, the garage keys, the whole thing, the closing
Right.
date, title. You're thinking of the HOA, deadlines, the HOA, earnest money. And for that little extra happy buyer to come to you and say, hey, this part is going good. And not just good, okay, but like really good. Like they're communicating and helping me. Makes your life easy.
Yeah.
So,
And I do ask, like, how's lending going?
yeah. And you should. You should. Absolutely. We are at the 33-minute mark, Iris, already. Any
It's
final
been a great
thoughts?
conversation.
I feel like I've known you for 20 years, and I think that's just because you're so easy to talk to and chill. Okay, well, we're going to talk again if you're okay with it, and I'd love to work with you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Awesome. Well, have a good day today. Thanks for go get
You
some
too.
coffee.
Cool.